Hello and welcome to Stripped Down Live. This is episode 6. We've made it to 6. I got a small round of applause for 6. Here we are in the streaming garage. I am your host, Curt Smith. This week on the show we have my friend, Gary Jules, for the next hour. You can, of course, find us on strippeddownlive.com. You can also find us on Blip TV, Roku, iTunes, and as per usual, after a few songs, we're actually going to ask you to send in your questions for Gary. If you want to join in, you can send them on Twitter at @striplive, or you can just go to the chat room at the website. So please send in your questions. We'll put them up to Gary later, but please welcome to the studio, Gary Jules.
Buffalo are out among the fallen stars tonight. Shadows cross the kitchen in the afternoon. Daylight break on the hemisphere. Jumped in the water, you left too soon. Blood red sun, moon on the water. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. And the rails bear a dangerous cargo there through the latter days of dreamtime. And the screen door is busted, and the hours fall and wither away. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing in this truck stop in Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, I come from sad stories. Yeah, I come from lonely people too. Yeah, I come from California, where God is green and the eyes are blue. Where God is green and the eyes are blue. And the bird has flown already. Oh no, like the guns are drawn already. Oh no, blood red sun, moon on the water. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. And the rails bear a dangerous cargo there through the latter days of dreamtime. And the screen door is busted. Oh, and the hours fall and wither away. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing here just waiting on my judgment day. Buffalo are out among the fallen stars tonight. Shadows cross the kitchen in the afternoon. Daylight break on the hemisphere. Jumped in the water, you left too soon. And the screen door is busted. Oh, and the hours fall and wither away. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing in this truck stop in Coeur d'Alene. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing in this truck stop in Coeur d'Alene. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Thank you. So I just keep going and singing here, folks? Yeah? I could do interpretive dance, no? Woo-hoo, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about a war he's winning. Ooh, ooh, everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Every sun is in the shadow of the Father now. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about a war he's winning. Ooh, ooh, everybody is a star. Do-do-do. Now, Sisyphus, I feel you, boy. Roll, roll, rollin' that rock all day. No one lends a hand along the way. They just smile and say, hey, see you soon, see you soon, see you soon. Oh, see you when the war is over. See you when this gravity stops pulling me around. Oh, when I get my feet up off the ground, finally lay this burden down, I come running. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about all my sinning. Ooh, everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Every sun is in the shadow of the Father now. But you, oh, you never be lonely, yeah. Never blue, oh. And ooh, never be lonely, yeah. Never blue, oh. There's poetry in sickness. Life is beautiful and cruel. That's just the way it is. And I can sleep, but I can't rest. They say the old songs are the best, and I am still a young man. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about a war he's winning. Ooh, everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Every sun is in the shadow of the Father now. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Do-do-do. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. You-ba-did-do, do-do-do-do. Everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Look it up. Mm-hmm. 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 Do-do-do-do-do-do. We come. I come running. Don't. So am I allowed to tell stories about the songs in between? Oh, sweet. So this song came because I was sitting in my studio in Asheville, North Carolina, in my house, and I was trying to find new and interesting instruments and noises that would make me make music that's different from all of the shoegazy, finger-picky stuff that I had made up until that point in my life. And so I went on and I tried to find Indian instruments online, and I found one. So this is Sanjeet, who is my bandmate, my favorite bandmate because I don't have to pay him or feed him, and he's good in the van. It's a long way away. Okay, I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna activate Sanjeet, and then I'm gonna jump back. We'll talk more about him after. Sunlight, diamonds on the water, feeling in your bones, down in your bones. Same old wind, been blowing here forever, soon be around your home. When the light of darkness calls, sometimes we're faded. When the light of darkness calls, sometimes we're faded. Strap your burden to a broken back and drive your car into the city. And devil's mean, though he won't bite. It's not the place to look for pity, no. Oh, sheep been tending the garden, he been praying for rain. Sheep been tending the garden, he been. Sheep been tending the garden, he been praying for rain. Sheep been tending the garden, he been. Sunlight, diamonds on the water, feeling in your bones, down in your bones. Same old wind, been blowing here forever, is howling around your home. When the light of darkness calls, sometimes we're faded. When the light of darkness calls, sometimes we're faded. When the light of darkness calls, sometimes we're faded. We're faded. Sheep been tending the garden, he been praying for rain. Sheep been tending the garden, he been. Sheep been tending the garden, he been. Thank you, Sanjeev.
have a soft spot for Sanjeev.
You do? You can borrow him.
Do you charge? Does he charge? He doesn't charge.
He does not charge.
It doesn't cost anything, right?
Or eat.
Did you find him on eBay?
Or complain. I found him online, just regular Google.
Just regular Google. Find me a Sanjeev box.
Yeah, it's called a Riaz. I don't know, something.
You don't know what it's called, right?
No, I don't. It's this very secret thing.
Now you say you got it to get other inspiration, because I mean I'm sitting here like listening, going, how the hell can you play that and sing that at the same time?
Practice.
But I mean, it's interesting because I'm listening because pretty much all your stuff, and I guess I'm making up things because I had other things I want to talk about, but we'll get to those afterwards. So I'm sitting there listening to you, and it's quite rhythmically intricate what you're playing here, and yet you're singing over it. So I'm sitting there going, well, did he make up that bit first, or did the song come all at the same time? Do you normally sit there with a guitar and work out something musically? Because a lot of melody comes from the guitar part.
Yeah.
It seems.
I think that the longer that I've played the guitar, I usually write guitar stuff first just to have an idea of sort of what, I don't read or anything like that. I don't really know what scale I'm in or whatever that. So I just sort of like will find something that I like to play and then sing to it. Sometimes, in the past it was different, but now it's really about finding something that's interesting for me to play on the guitar that I think is rhythmically and melodically interesting or harmonically interesting just by itself. And I think that what I'm doing is I'm tricking myself into continuing to sing simple parts. Like I tend to
the
sing...
intricate part is taken up by the...
It's too hard to sing anything else along with the guitar and the other stuff. So I continue to sing normally because the whisperly, wobbly voice, you don't want to sing real you don't want to be like Barbra Streisand all over the place. Otherwise it doesn't...
Well, and some of us couldn't be like Barbra Streisand all over the place.
I shouldn't be. What my problem is that I have no filter for that kind of stuff. So I will get Barbra Streisand-y if you give me enough space.
Oh, so basically you're not allowing yourself to
this is what keeps me from being Barbra Streisand. This and Sanjeev now.
And maybe a few plastic surgeries and some hair extension.
You said it, not me. Sorry, Barbara.
I'm listening to a lot of the lyrical content, and as I mentioned earlier, I said my friend Gary, because we have met on a bunch of occasions, so
yes.
I do know something of you. And it was funny because we were discussing beforehand how you're kind of relatively cheerful people. I was discussing us, relatively cheerful people that write pretty dark songs. So I'm going through lyrics of yours earlier today, and if there was ever, because it's interesting, I don't know whether you ever analyze your own. I certainly never analyze anything I write lyrically. I mean, I know what it means, but no one else comes along and I don't look out and say, my God, that's what I do all the time. But it seems there's one, to me, there is a prevalent theme which normally is trying to accept the way it is a lot of the time. I mean, lyrically they can be a little dark, but it's there. There's always a thing in there of sometimes it always is trying to say it is what it is. You got to accept it for what it is. And it sounds like you're sort of trying to come to grips with that a lot of the time.
I think that's accurate. I read somewhere that Bob Dylan said that you write the same song over and over. And I think that for me, music was always, at least my music and my voice, and where the sentiment that I can kind of get across the most effectively is the I understand all of the other stuff, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can do, so we have to make it okay. Right. You know what I mean? I was always terrified of the idea that I was a total doomsday kid. I always thought
join the club.
The other foot's gonna fall at any. I could never be fully miserable. Because I don't know, because I felt like it was too self-obsessive to do something like that, and I wouldn't want to draw that kind of attention to myself. But it was also very difficult to be fully happy, because if you were fully happy, then you knew that the minute you started to celebrate and actually feel okay, that something was going to come and squash you. And I think that I sort of grew up always feeling, or I don't know, I feel like that I feel, to me, I always felt that way, and I always thought that for me the most powerful music, the message in music was, it's going to be all right.
But did you, when you were younger, I mean, if I, draw a parallel of when I, say, was doing things when I was younger, at that age, it's sort of, there's a lot of kind of complaining, for one.
Moping.
Protesting, trying to make things better. And then as you get a bit older and start being, you're capable of being more objective. Because in your teenage years, 20s, I wouldn't say we're particularly objective because we're still uncomfortable with ourselves. But then there gets to that acceptance era where, I mean, there are lyrics, like these are your lyrics. There's poetry in sickness, life is beautiful and cruel, all these things that you kind of have to just accept. And without one, there isn't the other kind of thing. I mean, do you get that? When you were younger, did you write songs that were kind of more like protest things, and did these come a bit later?
I think that I loved protest songs. I was never that guy. I was never like I wrote...
You never wanted to draw attention to yourself.
I wrote more angry songs,
right.
Or I guess it could be, but they weren't really so much protest songs as it was just a younger, angrier version of it is what it is.
Right.
I don't know, for instance, one of the hardest things for me is sort of like over formalized relationships with people, like where somebody will come and tell me afterwards, he or she that was just here really wished that you would have said or done, something or other. Like, I'm just no good at that stuff. Like, if you want me to, I don't know, give you a cookie, ask for a cookie. You know what I mean? I like straight conversation. But yeah, I think that the younger part was just sort of like, when I was younger, it was more that I was angry that people were spending so much time talking about nothing,
right,
or doing nothing, or not
talking a lot about things they couldn't change effectively.
Yeah, which is nothing.
Right.
Which is effectively nothing.
Yeah.
I think also because I sort of felt like I was really obsessed with the Beatles when I was young in the 60s, and I studied oh my God, I wish if I had just been born 10 years earlier or whatever, everything. And I, going through the whole thing, I remember hearing John Lennon say, there's an interview with him right before he died, and in Imagine, that movie, they show him walking through the park in that silver jacket, and he says, weren't where did your relationship end up? Did we really change anything in the 60s? Weren't the 70s a drag? Don't you hope the 80s will be better? And I mean, of course, he died 1980, so he didn't get to see what happened,
But they certainly weren't, actually.
What?
The 80s.
Better than the 70s? I don't know. I think that everybody...
Everything sort of blurs into each other, don't they?
Like, I sort of feel like people who thought the 60s were awesome, a lot of them were like 25. Yeah. I thought that the 90s were pretty awesome, but I was kind of 25, Do
you also have that... I mean, I had not an argument, but an eye-opening conversation the other day. I'm sure this goes to exactly what you're saying, to be honest, which is... someone was listening to, I think, like an 80s channel, which, of course, me being me, I can't stand.
Right.
Because anything that's sort of left in a decade is just hideous to me. But, like, going through that whole, they don't make music like they used to. Music today is not going to last as long as the music we grew up with, which, of course, is utter nonsense, So I had to then say, well, you realize you sound like your parents now. I mean, you've become your parents. That's what you've done. My mother used to say the same thing to me.
Yeah.
That's like they don't write songs now. It's not the way it was in the 50s, the 60s, or whatever it was. What the truth is, whatever's good will stick around.
Yeah.
Whatever's crap will be forgotten.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. I remember reading in Hermann Hesse's Steppenwolf. There's a point where the character is walking through Paris, and he hears this music. And he says, I heard this music, and it was just all drums, like African, driving sex drums, and they were just talking over it. And I was thinking, wow, he's talking about jazz, obviously. Right. He meant jazz music because it's the 30s. Yeah. And, it sounds like he's talking about hip-hop. Yeah. So isn't it true that, guys who... there was jazz, and people who loved jazz when rock and roll came along said, it's just so pedestrian. It's so boring, and it's just such a, just a youth explosion, and that.
It's just
And then,
gyrating,
by the time when
nothing
you
more.
guys were making music, Tears for Fears, honestly, I should tell you, is one of the only bands that you could listen to in San Diego, where I'm from, and you could surf, and you could listen to Tears for Fears without getting your ass kicked. Anybody found Depeche Mode in your car, you were dust.
Why? Why?
Because it was gay. Because Depeche Mode was gay.
Really?
80s music was gay because there was Boy George and there was the guy from Flock of Seagulls and all of those
You're
guys.
saying that just because we didn't wear enough eyeliner, we weren't?
I don't know why it is, but Tears for Fears got away with it. I have to tell you a funny story about it.
It's not like we weren't effeminate or anything.
No, I don't think anybody. I think nobody saw the Mad World
We were
video.
two guys. I mean, come on.
The dance was so awesome. though.
I'd like to just qualify that was not me.
That was Roland.
Yeah.
But my friend Ralph Silverman learned how to do it exactly and did it all across, like as we were going from one class to the next. He would dance that way all the way across.
But do you think, it's interesting you were saying, when you were going off surfing and that kind of thing, do you think that sort of dark and that sort of acceptance thing, the dark and bright of what you do is somehow formed by growing up in California? I mean, there was always that, it's not like, for me growing up in England, say, you would go off and surf.
Yeah.
And it was sunny. I'd look out the window and it was pouring down with rain, and it was kind of miserable out, so there was nowhere to go.
I think that people are, especially when they're young, are miserable.
Whatever the weather.
Yeah, if it's sunny outside, the problem, and I'm sure that you felt it in LA
Yeah.
even as an adult,
Oh, God, yeah.
is that sometimes you look outside and everything is so cheery and everybody looks so beautiful and is going somewhere and has a big smile on their face and everybody doing their thing, and you're just like, this is total bizarro world. It makes you more depressed because you're just like, it's not reflecting, how I'm feeling and like who are all these people. And it can be, I think it's partially the same for, walking through parts of London and hearing dub reggae stuff, that's
Right.
so sunny and bright, some of it, and it just, the contrast really works. But I have to tell you, there's a line in that same song that you quoted that says, I can sleep but I can't rest.
Yes.
They say the old songs are the best and I'm still a young man.
Yeah.
I had a woman come up to me afterwards and say, I don't think that's true, that the old songs are the best. And I said, well, that's great. Like, what are you talking about? And she said, well, for instance, Mad World is my favorite song. And, it was only, that it had, at that time it had been probably 4 years. She said, and it's only been 4 years or so, or something like that. And I was like,
There's no explaining to these people.
no. But it was luckily I had my friend there, my friend Al, who's my drummer guy, and he ran over and he goes, and she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. And then she looked at me like, I don't know why I'm at your concert if you didn't write that song.
But sometimes, that's sort of the lack of education thing can be strange. But
That's a very nice way to put it.
yeah, it was. What was it? Who was it? Kelly, someone who's big on Twitter the other day. Who was my favorite quote of the week was that weird woman that's running for O'Donnell, right? O'Donnell, who obviously decries anything to do with evolution and saying, obviously if we evolved from monkeys, why are monkeys still around? And who was the girl who Kelly, what's her name? She's Canadian, but she's a very funny woman to follow. And her thing was, we have education, but there are still morons. And that was basically her answer,
I live in North Carolina, I have to tell you. I've actually heard people say, technology puts the evil in evolution.
Oh.
And you have to go,
It's not spelled like that for one.
there's no evil in evolution.
No,
Move on, what's the next
it's
point?
evil, okay? It is, it is. Talking of North Carolina, because you moved there, when did you move? 2006, did you?
Yeah.
Yep. And you had your son in 2004,
Mhm.
I think, so what, kid was like a couple of years old when you moved there.
He was almost 2.
Right. Was that just I got to get the hell out of LA feeling? And
Well, honestly, it was at the end of the... I basically went around the world singing Mad World
right,
for
if I hear that song again,
for
kill
2
me.
years, and it was everywhere, and it was it went from being like a cool underground thing to being like on pop radio,
Right.
like on the the lamest radio station that, you know, the one that your parents listen to that's like, you know.
It's called Radio 1 in England.
Right. Well, whatever it is, it's like, you know, you hear, no offense, but you hear like, you know, Peter Cetera Chicago songs get back up against, you know, Lionel Richie, and then you hear this and whatever, and then it would be like Mad World. And things had just gotten really weird for me. I had been just like, you know, like a little singer guy and was doing my thing, you know, and came home and my wife, like, Mad World in one day I was in London, Mad World went from like number 60 something in the charts to number 6. The show that I was supposed to play at a place that was 400 people went to like a 1,200 person place and sold out. I came home to the hotel and my wife came out of the shower and showed me 2 positive pregnancy tests. You know, like seriously, 3 months before we were broke in a 1-bedroom apartment at, you know, Wilcox and Melrose, and things had changed so fast. 2006, when my son was born, we just wanted out. You know, I had spent 20 years in Los Angeles trying to like figure out a way to make a living at being a musician, and then all of a sudden I was making a living at being a musician. I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I want.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. And my wife is from North Carolina, and she was particularly uncomfortable in Los Angeles at the time because it was looking like I was going to be on tour all the time. I ended up staying off the road for a really long time, but it looked like I was going to be gone a lot. She didn't feel safe being by herself. She, you know, in Los Angeles, it was extremely expensive for us. You know, we were writing checks that were bigger than any amount of money we'd ever had in one place at one time. And she's from North Carolina, and we picked a really super cool little hippie town up in the mountains and just moved there to kind of like decompress and reassess what was going on.
And actually, let's discuss. We should play a couple more songs. We'll discuss
Okay.
after. So I want to discuss kind of how that changed things and what your next move is. But we'll
All
do
right.
that in the next break, and we'll take some questions.
Okay.
Welcome back, Gary Jules.
It's good that we were talking about LA because I have a deep love for LA, and a lot of people don't. For those of you out there who have an opinion about LA, like that's different than that, you should know that your opinion doesn't matter until you've lived here at least 7 years. Yes, you're not allowed to say anything. I mean, taking a pot shot at LA and saying, what a horrible place to live. What are you know, what are you, a genius? Of course, it's a gigantic, huge, horrible city, and things are terribly unfair and whatever. But if you've lived here for a while, you fall in love with it, and I fell in love with it, and here's a song that I wrote about it.
There's no poetry between us. Set the paper to the pen. Something's burning in the attic that her tongue will not defend. Through the arc of conversation, past the teeth behind the smile, down the miracle mile, to the bottom of the ladder. Paint your eyes and hide the tatters. What's the matter, baby? Could we go downtown to the middle of the world. You were always such a pretty girl, and you told me I was beautiful. Hey, hey, hey. There's no poetry between us. Set the paper to the pen, and I get nothing for my trouble but the ink beneath my skin. If your clothes are getting weary and your soul gone out of style, blame the Miracle Mile. And the bottom of the ladder, paint your eyes and hide the tatters. What's the matter, baby? Oh, I'm coming to. I'm coming to. Yeah, I'm coming to. All right, by request. Now, I'm feeling a little nervous about this one. This is a new song, and I'm going to play it because, how did you say it, Curt? It's cheerfully dark, or darkly cheerful, or darkly cheerful, one of those two. The truth of it is that the way this song came about is that I was driving with my son in North Carolina, and he was about 4 at the time. And he said he was in the back seat, and I was on the phone talking to an adult in Los Angeles. And I think I got carried away and was using some language and a tone that my son at 4 was not familiar with, at least hearing Daddy use, and probably, using some words that he wasn't used to. And I hung up the phone, and I look in the rearview mirror, and he's just staring at me like this from his car seat. And I said, what's going on, buddy? And he said, Daddy, who were you talking to? And why were you talking like that? And I said, well, you know, honey, sometimes grown-ups have to, talk about heavy things with each other, and sometimes they use different kinds of language, and sometimes they don't get along that well. And he goes, oh, Daddy, you should just talk about lighter things. So I snaked it. Tremble, stumble into town, find your pawn shop savior, trade your heavy ghost, the ramparts and barricades for all the lighter things that fed into into a mason jar, busted wings and feathers floating all around the yard. No and no disease, only misbehavior. Angels of sacrilege, no, where hostages of privilege go. All the latter things, all the latter things, a wedding in the wings. So my sailors kept on the way back home, lost again in the street lamp glow. Hands on their pistols, the music and the lights are low. Shops are closed and they're behind the windows. All the latter things, all the latter things, all the latter things, all the latter things. Oh,
So I know you were kind of dubious about doing that song. How did it feel?
Felt fine after all.
I gotta say I love that song. I'm strangely enough, because it is a new song and I only heard it when you sent me the...
Am I sitting in the right place?
It's good enough.
Okay.
It's like, not that we have the right place.
Right.
Weird enough, when I was listening to it, I imagined it to be a song sung to a child. Because I imagined it to be, you know, that need. I mean, not the way you described it, which is something your kid said, but that sort of need to protect them from all those things, to protect them from the bad side of everything. And
I sort of had a realization while I was living in North Carolina, since I've been living in North Carolina, that one of the things about parenting that's weird is that what you want to do is try to create a sort of like a fantasy space for them to flourish in and learn in and play in, so that, and you want to sustain it as long as possible, so that they develop the same sort of like, hopefully like naive optimism that you have somewhere in you that makes you cheerful in, you know, in darkest, whatever makes it possible for you to get by and live, you know, with entropy.
But isn't that, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, my children are a little bit older. Well, my youngest one is older than your son, but and my oldest one is 11. But at some point, well, put it this way, I don't know if you've got to this point yet, but you realize you've got to open the door a bit. I mean, you have to, otherwise you're just sheltering them from reality some of the time. I mean, obviously you're the father or mother in you says you've got to protect these people, but at some point you also got to let them know so that they actually can look after themselves eventually, you know.
I think that's part of it. I mean, I think that's the whole game, is that you want them to believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
You know, you want them to until they understand what Santa Claus is.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it is for me. I want him to just believe everything is going to be, that I want him to believe that the world is as we've presented it to him, until he realizes.
Wait a minute. Which is interesting, and they do, because, I mean, I was saying before we started, I was just looking at my email before I turned my phone off, saying my daughter just lost a tooth, my 11-year-old. And she is going to put that under the pillow tonight. I mean, she will, in the expectation that the tooth fairy will come along and give her something nice. And she will, yeah. Her name's Aurora, by the way. It's the same tooth fairy every time. But she's already asking, like, it's not really a tooth fairy. It's just you coming in the middle of the night, you know, and sticking the thing under my pillow. That's what it is, right? And I'm like, not saying, I can't confirm or deny that. Right. Basically.
I'm not at liberty to divulge.
Yeah, that's a state secret. I'm sorry. It's, you know, you're going to have to shoot me if I tell you. But it is, I mean, you do get to that stage where you want to kind of let them out. And now, talking about what you're going to, as I mentioned beforehand, I wanted to talk about what you're going to be up to next. Now, you were saying that you're actually going to move back to California from North Carolina. We are
starting the process of thinking about moving back to.
Starting the process
of thinking about it.
Moving.
I mean, we're a ways off. Moving from, I mean, we're having a baby on or around Christmas Eve.
Oh, my second was born the 27th, so it was 2 days after. Interesting. It comes interesting when you get to birthdays. Just a warning.
I already figured out we're going to do a 6 month, a half birthday. Both kids are going to get a half birthday. Gus will celebrate his birthday on his birthday. He'll get to have the big party and everything. And then on his half birthday, he'll like get to pick where we go out to dinner, and he'll get like a little present and go out to, you know, for dessert. She will probably have her party on her half birthday.
Right. Well, because you can't have the party over a holiday because their friends aren't there once you get to school. School age, they're not.
Right. And those are the kinds of things that when you're a parent, that's your fault.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Well, actually, weirdly enough, with Wilder, who's my youngest one, is she actually she loves it because she gets like 3 parties. You know, she gets like people will give her presents on her birthday, which happens to be 2 days after Christmas. Then she'll have the school celebration when she gets back to school because the school do something. Then she'll have the official birthday party a few weeks after that when all her friends are back. So she's like, you know, she's milking it.
We have Gus he's the only grandchild on my wife's side of the family, and my mom only he's the third, or he's the second of 3, and she lives in California. So we have one birthday party at home, and then we have one birthday party with the grandparents, the maternal grandparents, and then we inevitably fly to California in August, right around his birthday sometime. So we also have a birthday party in California. He got 3.
So you're going to move back, you're thinking of moving back. You start the process of thinking of moving back at some point.
Yes.
But you're in the process right now of working on a new record?
I am going to start working on a new record. Right. Which, if all, you know...
if all the fates line up.
Yeah, creek doesn't rise, God willing, and if the creeks don't rise, I will be working on that record with my friend Mike Andrews, who I did Mad World with, and who I did all my music with.
Well, you and Mike have been friends since high school, right?
Way before, since I was 7 and he was 9.
Well,
yeah, we like grew up together.
You just have to throw in that he's older than you then.
Yes, he is, in fact. But you know, we're trying to find time. He's super busy, and I live on the other side of the country. Right. He makes, you know, music for movies, and he works incredible amount. But we're gonna make time and make a new record together, and hopefully at the end of that cycle, probably, or during that cycle, we'll start looking for places in California. I was born in California. My parents were born in California. I grew up surfing, and since we moved to North Carolina, have become re-obsessed with surfing again, which is which is unfortunate. I mean, airfare wise, but it's weird the things that you find out that you miss, the things that, you know, like I think having a family and starting to think about, you know, generational stuff and things like that, and just the surroundings that your kids grow up in. Where we live in Asheville is an awesome place for kids. It's wonderful. The schools are great. You don't have to lock doors. There's 50 kids in our neighborhood, and they all run around in packs, and all of that sort of stuff. But I'm really homesick for the ocean, and I'm really homesick for even LA, for LA and for cities and for the weather and the food and the people. I mean, there's something about California that there's sort of like everybody who was born somewhere else that wanted to go somewhere else than where they were supposed to go. Every kid who was born into like an orthodontics family and didn't want anything to do with teeth moves to either New York City or California, So California is full of people. I mean, Los Angeles was built on a fantasy. It's, it still is. It's a complete fantasy. There's plants everywhere. No water.
Yeah.
None. Rained for 5 minutes this afternoon. People thought it was a flash flood. But, we stole the water from everywhere. We steal water from Indians up north. We take the Colorado River, and, they brought it here so that we could have gardens and lawns and stuff like that. I just love it. I love the whole vibe.
The fact that it's not claiming to be anything. It's really not.
Yeah, just a big garden in a desert.
Yeah, it's so far, like, who could deny it?
Yeah. You can't.
And actually, to be honest, it's probably better now with your kids to do it when they're a bit younger than when, because if they're getting to their teenage years and have teenage friends, they're going to be going, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You could go on your own.
Right. Well, I'm not so sure. I'm sure that eventually it would be that way, but I doubt very seriously that a young, especially teenage kid would say, I'm not moving to the beach. I'm not moving to California.
Yeah.
California has the...
Who could tell? I mean, I think that when they're younger, what I'm saying is that when they're younger, they adapt far quicker, I think. Let's go to some questions, because I see there are some up there, questions for Gary. Lady Diode in the chat room asks, do any or all of your tattoos have special meaning? Well, there you go. LA gave you nothing but the ink beneath your skin.
True enough. Well, they... I don't know that they all have meanings, but I sort of ended up collecting tattoos instead of salt shakers from, a life of being on the road. So even if they don't have specific meanings for, outward meanings, they have a lot of meaning to me. A lot of times just where I got, this was from Barcelona. This is my brother Joe. This was a bet. We were... still awake and drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I told my brother that I would get his name tattooed on me, and he bet me that I wouldn't.
So when you're drunk at 9 a.m., that's what
you
do.
Yeah.
Proof that North Carolina has something about no alcohol on a Sunday. Then.
Right. That's yeah. I mean, a lot of these I was very young. Some of them mean something, some of them don't.
Kitty Sparkle, I like that name in the chat room, says, I'm curious to know how Gary felt that Adam Lambert covered his version of Mad World on American Idol. Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough? What's that from?
Fair enough. I don't know. Is it from? It may well be from something, undoubtedly something English if it is.
Yeah, it's Morrissey.
It is?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it is. Fair enough. Anyways, we used to it. Anyways, okay, Adam Lambert. Adam Lambert is from San Diego as well as I am, and I knew that he was going to sing Mad World, even though I didn't know it. I had a feeling that...
I was in the audience for one of them.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Could they tell you?
No, actually, the first time he did it, I was at an LA Galaxy soccer game, and a friend on the East Coast sent me a message on my phone, a text on my phone. And then the second one, I actually was at the performance.
I was sitting in my living room by myself, and I heard the piano thing, and I was like, I knew it! And I felt wonderful about it. I thought it was very exciting.
I felt great until I discovered the theme for the week. Then
What was the theme for the week?
Songs released in the year you were born.
Yeah.
Right. So then you're like, I was feeling good up until then. Tiffan.
Tiffan.
Very
good. Tears
fan.
for Fears.
In the chat room asks, what is your next project? Well, I think we just covered that one, really.
Making a record with Mike Andrews. Yep.
There you go. And
be out next year.
Hopefully that'll be soonish.
Yeah, it'll be out in the spring, hopefully.
What other instruments have you delved into?
Delved?
Sanjit over there.
Sanjit, I play a little bit of everything. I don't play anything particularly well. I play enough piano to do things. I bought some synthesizers that have really neat sounds in them, and I use them, you know, a little bit here and there. I can play the ukulele, bass, drums very poorly. I do demos with myself playing drums and only play them for, you know, my wife.
That's what they made Beat Detective for.
I know, even with Beat Detective, it still it sounds stiff and like I'm trying really hard. It has no vibe to it at all.
This is from Jackson M. You mentioned that LA is a hard place to live, but you grew to love it. What do you love most about Los Angeles?
Fountain, darling.
Fountain?
Betty Davis got asked. They said 10,000 new, you know, starlets move here every year trying to find fame. Do you have any advice for them? And she said, yes. Take Fountain, darling.
Still true to this day, actually.
It is. Until now, that Gary Jules has ruined it.
Yeah, ruined it. That's going to ruin my trip home from Beverly Hills to the Hollywood Hills, because I would always take Fountain.
My favorite thing about Los Angeles is what I was talking about before, that people, even as much of a cliche as it is, kids, you know, everywhere, with that sort of teenage unrest, whatever, get on a bus or get in a car or do whatever and drive here to try to do something else. And a lot of times they end up not doing what they came here to do. They find a job or a wife or a husband or something else totally, but their lives kind of take off from what they were supposed to do and go through Los Angeles on the way to what they become. I just think that's the greatest thing ever.
Well, I'm presuming that's Sean things, even though one could say seeing things, right? Seeing things. Seeing things. I get the joke. If your name is Sean, the joke is pretty good. In the chat room asks, how much of your personal life do you put into your lyrics? Well,
27%, 27 or 28.
Never go above 28?
No, I try not to. It's just at 30.
Do you do like a tally at the end? You're like, that's 31%.
Mm-hmm. I've developed kind of a feel for it at this point, but 30%, anything over 30%, things start to get dangerous.
Right. People start to actually know about you and that kind of, which is a bad territory to be roaming into. I try
not to write about things that I don't know about. I'll say that. I try not to write about, I don't know.
Nuclear science.
Yeah, or, you know, I try to leave politics alone. Like, I don't understand any of that stuff. I don't understand, I don't know. I try to write about stuff that I know about, and typically it'll involve my own life or my own experience in some way, shape, or form. Usually not too literally. And a lot of times the characters in my stories are real characters, but they're real people, but I give them words from other people, you know.
Right. Now we have a question from Afton. I want to know what, Afton HH, I want to know what the other H stands for, Afton. I never really asked that. I know one is your last name, but anyway. In the chat room asks, now let me preface this by saying Afton works with Tears for Fears on tour and is my kid's piano and guitar teacher. What kind of guitar is that? It's lovely. Which is a cue for you to go, it's yours. I'll give it to Curt and let him bring it home and he'll see you Friday.
Right. Well, Afton, for one thing, if I move back to California, I'm going to need piano lessons. So we can do
It's very good.
But it is a 19, can you see? Yeah.
It's in there.
Yeah. It is a 19...
I would have just said it's a brand one. But
it's a 1963 or 64 Guild Mark M1. It is the only acoustic guitar that Frank Sinatra ever owned, because they made them in Hoboken, New Jersey, his
that specific
hometown.
one?
This one, not this one was his.
Okay.
But I have bought a whole bunch of them because you can get them, at least when I started buying them, you can get them relatively inexpensively, and they're all solid wood, mahogany. I have just blown every secret in the world.
Yeah, their price is going up now.
And what else did I ruin? Frank. Now I've read Fountain.
Fountain's ruined. Guild is now gone through the roof. Fountain is going to be like traffic jam tomorrow.
Yeah.
Watch Joyce in the chat room asks, any plans of making another TFF Curt Smith song cover? One would hope no. he's learnt the error of his ways.
I'll tell you.
Although we have discussed you doing a whole version of The Hurting, but
We have played. I have played.
I've told you a couple of lyrics tonight.
Yes, my band in high school that included Mike Andrews played Mad World. We played The Hurting. We played
You got the
Memories
lyrics,
Fade.
Okay.
What?
Before Kanye West did it.
Well, he did what?
Memories Fade.
Oh yeah, it was way better, our version. We did Memories Fade, and I think that we did. I used to cover Ideas as Opiates when I played at the
Which is why you were singing it to me earlier.
Yes, I played it, and I played it at a show that I played with Elliott Smith, and he said that was his favorite thing of the whole set, which I took as kind of a stab in the back, but you know.
I guess, yeah.
It was the only cover I played.
know.
It was the only cover I played. I should have known that I was just getting used to it. That people were going to say, I thought your set was really good. My favorite thing was the Tears for Fears song.
But did he know it was a Tears for Fears song? Or was he presuming?
He did know that it was a Tears for Fears song.
Okay. So no more then, basically, is what we're saying.
No!
I mean, because we were discussing earlier about how that whole thing is like a blessing and a curse, effectively.
Yes.
That you're there and, you do this other song and suddenly that's what you're known for and that's got to be friggin' hitting.
Well, the funny thing about...
Apart from, what the
other thing
nice
about-
thing is it gave you...
I covered Mad World I had covered Mad World, on and off forever.
And it was out years
in
before it
different
became a
ways.
hit as well.
Yeah. And I had done, like Mike and I, when we still lived in San Diego, but we were grown-ups, he had this house on 2nd and Laurel, and the whole bottom of the house, this old Craftsman house, was a recording studio and had instruments, and we could all play in there. So we would get, have a few beers and some wine and stuff, and all these great musicians would come over, and we would just do covers of things that, like, no offense, but in 1998, doing a Tears for Fears cover was hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, people were like,
so retro.
It was just so, it was
Wrong.
so
It was so
not
wrong
what,
it was
it was
right.
so not what was happening right there, but we would do, like, we did Mad World as like a Neil Young, like, doom, 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 like that. And I even think I sang it like Neil Young at one point, but it was, we would do these things and it was super, super fun. But the version that we did that ended up being so popular, that we did for Donnie Darko, which was Mike Andrews' project.
Yeah.
He had invented all of the music for Donnie Darko on piano, which was an instrument that he only learned for that movie to write that score, so that it would sound like somebody who doesn't really know how to play, because it would give it that really super creepy Donnie Darko-y
Which
feel.
it did.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
And it was his idea. He had been studying some other score guy who would do a period piece. Like, if you're doing a movie about the 40s in the set, it was 1979, let's say you're doing a movie about the 40s, you would do a song from the 40s, from the period of the movie, in the style, in like disco style, So that's what he wanted to do, and he called me up and he said, they want to do I want to do an 80s song for the end titles. He said, do you want to come over and sing Mad World? And, so my part of Mad World was the singing, but I mean, everything else about the way that it sounds and the instruments that are not in there and how, like, sparse it is and everything like that were all decisions that Mike made, which is going back to the Adam Lambert cover. He did the Mike Andrews version much more than he did the Gary Jules version, because he sure didn't sing it like me. At the end it was like,
Well, that was him doing your Barbara Streisand.
Right.
Was what it was. Because if anything,
full circle.
If anything needs to do Barbara Streisand, he does do Barbara Streisand very well.
He'd be like Barbara Streisand with a machete.
Kind of, yeah.
Like a violent Barbara Streisand ninja.
It's like if Barbara Streisand were in Kiss, kind of thing. I can see it now. Same faith, I believe. Yeah.
Anyone interpretive
That's pretty
dance
much
for
what it
that
stops.
one?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to the last couple of songs.
Okay.
So what's the next song you're going? I'm going to come in the middle, say my goodbyes.
Okay.
I actually had one thing I wanted to ask you before I go, and on the last song. Can I join in?
It would be my hugest honor, pleasure.
You want to do a verse each?
Sure.
Verse, chorus, or whatever. We'll make it up.
Let's do. Yeah. Why don't? Yeah. Let's
Up
do
to
that.
you.
No.
No, it's your call. It's your show. Remember.
Let's just. We're both lifelong performers. I say we just.
We just wing it.
We'll just wing it.
We'll wing it. So what's the next track we're listening to now?
The next one is called Falling Awake.
Falling Awake.
This is the song that I wrote when I was feeling very optimistic. I wrote it for my, at the time, unborn son, Gus. And since I had been the patron saint of shoegazers for several years, I thought it was very upbeat. Not upbeat necessarily, but I thought it was, you know, optimistic, positive. This is what I've learned thus far and whatever. And it got popular because they put it in Grey's Anatomy in an episode where they unplug one of the characters' dads from life support. So you can think about it as, you know, a father about to have his, you know, first kid or whatever, and letter to an unborn son, or you can think about a son unplugging his dad from life support. It's up to you.
The cycle of life.
It's the cheerful depressant. What was it again?
Cheerfully dark.
Cheerfully dark. Eagle in the dark, feathers in the pages, monkeys in my heart are rattling their cages, found a way to blue, another ghost to follow. Said it's only up to you. It's the hardest pill to swallow. You never get to choose. You live on what they sent you, and you know they're gonna use the things you love against you. One foot in the grave, one foot in the shower. There's never time to save when you're paying by the hour. Oh, that's just the way it goes. Falling awake, and that's just the way it goes. Slipping through the bars, aware of the danger of riding in the cars, taking candy from strangers. Oh, it's never out of hand. Oh, never out of pocket. I'm supersonic man. Do you wanna buy a rocket? Oh, that's just the way it goes. Falling awake, falling awake. Oh, that's just the way it goes. Falling awake, falling awake. Eagle in the dark, feathers in the pages, monkeys in my heart are rattling their cages. I could learn to play the game. I could learn to run the hustle if I only had the brains, the money or the muscle.
Okay, what Gary tunes. Huge thanks to Gary Jules. Thanks to New Tech for the TriCaster. Thanks to the crew, of course, as usual. Visit stripdownlive.com. Next show is next Wednesday, of course, October 6th, 8 p.m. We have All Day Sucker on the show. And now we're going to bluff our way through the end of the show, I believe. Can I use this microphone? Is that okay? I'm just gonna go over here. I'm gonna let Gary go.
Familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
Children waiting for the day they feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Made to feel the way that every child should. Sit and listen, sit and listen. Went to school and I was very nervous. No one knew me, no one knew me. Hello teacher, tell me what's my lesson. Look right through me, look right through me. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. Find it hard to tell you, 'cause I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. Halagian world. Mad world.
And clappity, clappity, clap, 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 clappity, clappity, clap, 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 as we see the credits roll and roll and roll.
Open Quarter Lane. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Thank you. Do I just keep going and singing here, folks? Yeah? I could do interpretive dance, no? Woo-hoo, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about a war he's winning. Ooh, ooh, everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Every sun is in the shadow of the Father now. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about a war he's winning. Ooh, ooh, everybody is a star. Do-do-do. Now, Sisyphus, I feel you, boy. Roll, roll, rollin' that rock all day. No one lends a hand along the way. They just smile and say, hey, see you soon, see you soon, see you soon. Oh, see you when the war is over. See you when this gravity stops pulling me around. Oh, when I get my feet up off the ground, finally lay this burden down, I come running. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about all my sinning. Ooh, everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Every sun is in the shadow of the Father now. But you, oh you. Yeah, I come from sad stories. Yeah, I come from lonely people too. Yeah, I come from California, where God is green and the eyes are blue. Where God is green and the eyes are blue. And the bird has flown already. Oh no, like the guns are drawn already. Oh no, blood red sun, moon on the water. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. And the rails bear a dangerous cargo there through the latter days of dream time. And the screen door is busted. Oh, and the hours falling wither away. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing here just waiting on my judgment day. Buffalo are out among the fallen stars tonight. Shadows cross the kitchen in the afternoon. Daylight break on the hemisphere. Jumped in the water, you left too soon. Yeah, and the screen door is busted. Oh, and the hours falling wither away. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing in this truck stop in Coeur d'Alene. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing in this truck stop.
Hello and welcome to Stripped Down Live. This is episode 6. We've made it to 6. I got a small round of applause for 6. Here we are in the streaming garage. I am your host, Curt Smith. This week on the show we have my friend Gary Jules for the next hour. You can, of course, find us on stripdownlive.com. You can also find us on Blip TV, Roku, iTunes, and as per usual, after a few songs, we're actually going to ask you to send in your questions for Gary. If you want to join in, you can send them on Twitter at @striplive, or you can just go to the chat room at the website. So please send in your questions. We'll put them up to Gary later, but please welcome to the studio, Gary Jules.
Buffalo are out among the fallen stars tonight. Shadows cross the kitchen in the afternoon. Daylight break on the hemisphere. Jumped in the water, you left too soon. Blood red sun, moon on the water. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. And the rails bear a dangerous cargo there through the latter days of dream time. And the screen door is busted, and the hours fall and wither away. Everything is frozen north of Wichita. I'm standing in this truck stop in Coeur d'Alene. So am I allowed to tell stories about the songs in between? Oh, sweet. So this song came because I was sitting in my studio in Asheville, North Carolina, in my house, and I was trying to find new and interesting instruments and noises that would make me make music that's different from all of the shoegazy, finger-picky stuff that I had made up until that point in my life. And so I went on and I tried to find Indian instruments online, and I found one. So this is Sanjeet, who is my bandmate, my favorite bandmate because I don't have to pay him or feed him, and he's good in the van. It's a long way away. Okay, I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna activate Sanjeet, and then I'm gonna jump back. We'll talk more about him after. Sunlight, diamonds on the water, feeling in your bones, down in your bones. Same old wind, been blowing here forever, soon be around your home. When the light of darkness calls. Sometimes we're faded when the light of darkness calls. Sometimes we're faded. Strap your burden to a broken back and drive your car into the city. And devils mean never be lonely, yeah. Never blue, oh. And never be lonely, yeah. Never blue, oh. There's poetry in sickness. Life is beautiful and cruel. That's just the way it is. And I can sleep, but I can't rest. They say the old songs are the best, and I am still a young man. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Bottle keeps spinning, spinning. Devil keeps grinning, grinning. Thinking about a war he's winning. Ooh, everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Every sun is in the shadow of the Father now. And ooh, it's a funny old life. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You-ba-do-do-do-do-do. Everybody is a star. Every star is a sun. Look it up. Mm-hmm. 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 Do-do-do-do-do-do. We come. I come running. Don't